If you've spent any amount of time exploring the twin flame journey, you've probably heard the phrase unconditional love more times than you can count. Everyone talks about it, everyone insists that it's the foundation of the twin flame dynamic, and yet almost no one explains what it truly means. In fact, most people misunderstand it entirely. On the twin flame journey, you're not learning how to romantically love another person without limits. You're learning the deepest spiritual principle of all, the difference between attachment and true unconditional love. And that difference is far more profound than most people realize. When you hear the words unconditional love, it's tempting to imagine self-sacrifice, boundless patience, and endless forgiveness. You might think it means accepting any behavior, tolerating anything your twin flame does, or staying available no matter what. But this is not unconditional love. Unconditional love does not mean tolerating poor behavior. It does not mean having no boundaries. And it certainly does not mean allowing someone to treat you in ways that are harmful or disrespectful. Those misconceptions come from the ego's interpretation of love, an interpretation built on fear, lack, and codependency. Unconditional love, in truth, is none of those things. Real unconditional love is profoundly quiet. It is not dramatic or emotional or chaotic. It doesn't cling, it doesn't grasp. It doesn't demand. Unconditional love is peace. It is the calm, centered, non-judgmental state of being in which you allow another person to exist exactly as they are. You don't try to change them. You don't try to control them. You don't pressure them to be someone else so that you can feel safe or validated. Unconditional love is the Zen state where you allow your twin flame to walk their path without overlaying your expectations on top of it. It is spacious, not tight. It is free, not constricted. It is open-hearted, not defensive. This peace does not come from the mind. It comes from the soul, from the part of you that recognizes the truth of the dynamic without needing proof or reassurance. What is the difference between conditional love and unconditional love? Conditional love, the kind most people are familiar with, is not really love at all. It is attachment dressed as affection. It is the ego's version of connection. If you do this, I will feel loved. If you behave this way, I will stay. If you meet my expectations, I will open my heart. Conditional love is a transaction. Give to receive. Love to be loved. Offer affection to get validation. It is an emotional contract, a system of unconscious bargaining. And because of this, it is inherently fragile, easily shaken, easily shattered, easily threatened. Unconditional love is the opposite. It requires nothing in exchange. It does not bargain. It does not perform. It simply is. This doesn't mean you stay in unhealthy dynamics. It means your inner state is no longer dictated by the other person's behavior. You hold peace within yourself regardless of what your twin flame is doing externally. You love without clinging, without needing, without demanding anything in return. If you strip away the labels, the narratives, and the emotional intensity of the twin flame dynamic, you'll discover its spiritual essence. This journey is not about romance. It's not about destiny. It's about awakening, and unconditional love is one of the highest spiritual teachings you will ever integrate. Unconditional love is the peace of God, not in a religious sense, but in a universal, energetic sense. It is the divine frequency that underlies all true spiritual states: calm, presence, compassion, non-attachment, and inner knowing. This love doesn't come from effort or willpower. It arises naturally when you align with your soul. It appears when you release fear, surrender expectation, and step into the truth of who you really are. When you give from this place, from soul alignment rather than ego attachment, you're giving without the need to receive. Not because you're selfless, but because giving is your natural state. You don't need a return because you're not giving to get. You're giving because your heart is full, not empty. The twin flame journey is not a relationship path. It is a spiritual awakening wrapped inside what appears to be a connection with another person. This in itself is an illusion, because you and your twin are one being. You are not here to learn how to maintain a partnership. You are here to learn how to transcend the ego's version of love altogether. And unconditional love is one of the key initiations of this awakening. You learn to release attachment, not as a strategy, but as a natural result of inner alignment. You learn to love without clinging, not because you're trying to be spiritual, but because clinging no longer makes sense. On this path, you will eventually realize that the intensity you feel isn't caused by the other person. It is caused by the resistance between your ego's expectations and your soul's truth. When you align with unconditional love, real unconditional love, that resistance dissolves. You stop trying to pull your twin flame closer. You stop trying to get something from them. You stop trying to make the journey unfold a certain way. Instead, you rest in presence. You allow, you become spacious, you become peaceful. And this is where the magic happens. Unconditional love is not a feeling you have for someone else. It is a level of consciousness you awaken within yourself. On the twin flame journey, you discover that unconditional love is not directed outward. It radiates inward first. It is the love of the soul for the self. It is the peace that arises when you realize you are whole, complete, and not dependent on any external outcome to feel secure. When you embody this state, everything shifts, including your twin flame dynamic. Not because you're manipulating the energy, but because you finally aligned with the truth of the journey. Unconditional love is not something you give to your twin flame. It's the state you learn to live in. And from this state, everything else unfolds exactly as it is meant to.